Hey, hey, happy day, or is it a happy day? There's brand new gun legislation in Canada, and I've got Ed Berlew. He's a famous guy. He's out of Toronto area, GTA in Canada, and he's a gun lawyer. And he knows all about stuff, what's going on with regards to this new legislation, and he's on the speakerphone. You can see him up here, of course, but we couldn't get the Zoom working today, so here we are. Ed, how are you?
Oh, it's a black cloud of a day. Even though the sun is shining here, it's a black cloud of a day.
It's a black cloud. No kidding. No, I get that. What is going on? Today's the 2nd of June, and what are the dates like here? Was it June 1 or the end of May? When did this thing come down, and what is it exactly?
Well, on Monday, the 30th of May, they announced the new legislation, which they'll be voting on, and with the power of the Liberal Party having brought in the NDP, they're guaranteed a majority, so they will pretty much do what they want. And what they've done at this point is turned our guns into footballs, because they're going to beat them around and kick them all over the place, just like political footballs. And then they're going to take them from us. Now, people are thinking, oh, this just applies to handguns, because they're going to stop the sale of handguns. They're going to have it so that when you die, when you have your handguns and you're an old guy and you die, the guns go to the state. They're confiscated for no money.
For no money. So financially, this is a big hit too. We're probably talking billions of dollars that are involved. But if they decide to pay people, which they may or may not, I don't think that's come down the pipe yet. But basically, millions of people now are criminals. Is that a fair statement?
No, it's not. We're not criminals yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I can keep my handguns, but I can't transfer them to you, my friend.
Huh?
I can't sell them. I cannot give them on my death to my children.
No, but what do you mean, Ed, when you said this has the appearance of a handgun kind of grab called it, but it goes deeper than that? This goes into all guns. Is that fair?
Well, the way it goes into all guns, being long guns, rifles and shotguns, is there's so many new ways that they can take our license and force us to, within 7 days of taking our license, to give the guns to the police or sell them.
Okay.
And when we sell them now, and this is now the law as of mid-May, when we go to sell any gun, we need to talk to the Registrar of Firearms and get their permission, because we have to have a valid license to sell to a person with a valid license, and we get a reference number.
Yeah. So this is kind of, I just recently read a book actually about Russia back in the 80s, or when it was or 90s, when it was all those socialist states, and it's starting to sound like that. Wow, this isn't good. And this is aimed just at law-abiding people that pass background checks and so on. What about the criminals? I suppose they don't obey laws, but what happens to them with all of this? Do they get reduced sentences? Do they get treated more harshly? Were they even mentioned in this proposed legislation?
They are mentioned. They're mentioned under 4 offenses of trafficking firearms, importing firearms, unauthorized sale of firearms, and they have their possible sentences increased from 10 years to 14 years.
Oh.
That's all.
That's it?
And then there's some new allowance for the police using wiretaps where they think that there's gang use of illegal firearms.
Yeah. Tell me something. I'm curious. I'm a gun guy, of course, but why don't they, like death by 1,000 cuts, why don't these guys just outlaw all guns and be done with it? Why do they put us through this pain?
Well, that's why I'm talking about the guns as being political footballs. What it means is that these are vote-getting exercises. That's what these are. And if they do a little bit now, they'll get votes. Then they'll do a little bit later, and they'll get votes.
And
because they can do it all at once, but it's about voting.
Wouldn't have the impact or the effect. No, I get that. And they own or control all of the mainstream media, so they're able to kind of use this all of the time going into any election. So that's an interesting take on that for sure. So is there a solution to this? I mean, like English law, doesn't it say somewhere that we have the right for this? I guess rights don't matter. Our Constitution is weak with that notwithstanding clause. But is there anything here? You as the attorney, you know, the gun lawyer of Canada, what can we do? Anything? Is there any way to fight these people?
What can be done is a very strong conservative government who will protect the ownership of people with guns, you know, like lawful people with guns, peaceful people with guns, has to come into effect. Because what happened is our Supreme Court of Canada, 10 years ago, made a ruling that has stood that gun ownership is a privilege, it's not a right.
Oh my.
And that is echoed day in, day out by the politicians.
So we're under attack by our own government. I mean, they should have other things to do, better things to do, but they've chosen instead to go after the millions of people who are legal gun owners and the people that don't do anything bad. I found it somewhat amusing and, of course, distressing when there's gun violence by mentally disturbed people in other countries, and our government, our prime mistake, reacts and says that happened there, so we should change it here. I guess that's why we have this new legislation, is that where they were going to do it anyway, but certainly they're doing it under the umbrella of this recent tragedy in Texas. What's up with that?
What's up with that is the legislation is very intricate. It shows months and months of studies. It shows months and months of consultation with victims groups who have been harping on this for 30 years. Finally, they're getting their way completely.
Yeah.
The opportunity arose after the two tragedies, one in Buffalo, one in Uvalde. And that is being used. Our media in Canada here is full of both of those, and now full of the gun grab. It's only talking about the handguns being stopped, but it doesn't talk about the way they're going to seize my shotgun that I use for duck hunting and your rifle that you're going to use for deer hunting, because those are at risk in a very big way.
I read somewhere as well, there was mention even of BB guns. What's that about? I didn't go into it. By that point, I was so angry and depressed that I couldn't continue reading, but I did see something about air guns.
Well, what happens there is all air guns under 500 feet per second that look substantially like or exactly like a gun that's over 500 feet per second, quote, a real gun. All those look-alike BB guns, pellet guns, airsoft guns are now prohibited.
As of now, is that like to be talked about, or is that actually done?
Well, it's in the legislation. So
You know, there's
at the end of the summer, they will be prohibited. That is the goal. So that you can't sell them, you can't buy them. If you have them, you can keep them, but you can't give them to your kids. If you can't lend them to your kids. They're yours.
I have a machine gun BB gun. It's kind of fun, right? And so that now will be a bad thing. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
My.
If you were to give it to me, you'd be trafficking in prohibited firearms, and we'd get 14 years in jail.
You're kidding me. That's a laughing matter. It's so disgusting. It's so goofy. If I give you a BB gun that couldn't hurt anybody, and I give it to you because it looks like a bad thing, we could get 14 years in jail, both of us. Me giving, you receiving?
Yeah, because you're trafficking to me. We're both part of the trafficking. We can get 14 years in real jail.
How did this happen? How did this country get so bloody screwed up? I don't get it. I mean, what's the solution? I don't think there is one, because there's a majority government. The NDP and the Liberals, they're joined at the hip. I mean, there's no hope. We're doomed. Is that true? Like, you as the lawyer, there's no fight here anymore. Like firearm legal defense, I mean, they're busier than they've ever been. And by the way, any of you people watching this, if you're a member, or you should be, of firearm legal defense with any type of legal thing, when you need them, request Ed Berlew. Many lawyers work for the company. Request Ed, and you can get the job done. If there's hope, he'll get you through it. But Ed, some days I do wonder if there's any bloody hope with these idiots. I mean, this is just grim. What can we do, short of moving to Mars or something? What do you suggest?
Well, really, it takes a dedicated campaigning to get the present group of liberal governors out of power. Even when I talk to people who were liberals back 20, 30 years ago, they're disgusted. They say this is not what we wanted.
It's true.
This is what this small group around Trudeau want.
Oh, it's like a Hitler thing. There was a small group that made it happen. No, I get it. I've talked to liberals who years ago were considered to be business people and semi-capitalist, I guess, or whatever. And today they are disgusted, but nobody knows what to do. I think everybody in Ontario, everybody with a pro-right kind of thing in their body, and guns included, of course, should move to Alberta. I think it's the only place that we can survive this. That's another talk another day, but somebody needs to become independent from Canada and have new rules and laws that make sense. And we need a province that can pull that together. So let's all move to Alberta. Okay, Ed? Can I see you there?
You will. Not a problem. I'll get on the plane in an hour.
Well, it's enlightening, and I wish there was a legal solution to this. I wish that I wish you could say that, hey, they can't do this, and because the law says this and that. But that doesn't exist anymore, and even if it did, these guys don't care. They don't care about petitions. They don't care about law. They're doing what they want to do. And I think that's a fair statement. Do you agree?
It is a fair statement. Like they're exempting. I'll still be able to buy a pistol if I'm an Olympic shooter. Okay, but there's only like 6 or 7 of those in Canada. Yeah. They're not recognizing any of the other legitimate, highly regimented, safety-conscious pistol sports. They deliberately said no to that.
Yeah. I bet that the CSSA, I bet Tony and gang there are swamped with phone calls because they do such a great job. I bet they're just off their feet. I haven't spoken to them for a while. Have you?
I did. I've talked to Tony many times. I've talked to people in the industry. I'm being swamped with calls. They start at 5 in the morning. They go till 10 at night.
Wow.
And it's not going to stop. I mean, people are realizing what this is. They're realizing that this legislation actually has the tools so that on a false allegation made against a gun owner, you will lose your shotguns and your rifles, your ordinary shotguns and rifles, and you'll lose your license and never get it back.
Well, what you've really lost as well, of course, is your freedom, and Canada's doomed, and how do we fix it? It's a very spooky thing. I mean, when the government turns on you and goes after its own people, the people that have done nothing bad, on the contrary, they've done good things, they pay their taxes. I mean, gun owners are honest people. Virtually all of them work, they pay taxes, as said, and so on, and we're under attack. I mean, it's terrible what's going on. I mean, Hitler would be very proud of all of these people, but anyway, we could beat it to death, and I'm going to work more on this independence movement for Alberta, because there has to be a place for all the good guys to go to and gather up, because right now we're being trampled. So that's my wordage for the day. How about you, Ed? Any final comments?
Well, I'm going to be looking for a really nice house in Lethbridge. I like Lethbridge. There are wonderful people there. I've been there many times. I have friends in Lethbridge, and I'm going to give a shout out to the Lethbridge Gun Club because they are tremendous people.
Yeah, well, they really are. And there is a party there. I mean, the Conservative Party that's in power now with a new leader might make some good things happen. I don't know that. But I do know that the Wild Rose Independence Party, wildrosenation.com, they're on this, and believe it or not, they're over 20% in the polls, so it's a strong movement, and they'll govern, and I believe they will get elected, and there's hope, and they know all about the right of self-defense and the right of ownership and property, so I'm hopeful. That's about all there is left to hope for in Canada, but anyway, I'm beating that to death again. Ed, thanks so much. It's nice to not see you. You look good.
Well, I'm sorry to bring a black cloud in, but I got to talk about the reality, and there is no happiness in this.
There is no happiness to this. No, and I get it. I mean, reality is good to face, because then we have an opportunity now to think the other way. I spoke to a guy, I know I've said goodbye, but hang on, my last comment, I spoke to a fella yesterday at a gun club, and I said, hey, you sound happy. Why? With what's going on? He said, oh, it's not a problem. The Liberals can do whatever they want. Our guys will be in power soon, and they'll turn it all back. Firstly, our guys probably won't be in power, and secondly, if they are, would they turn it back? I wouldn't be so sure about that. They haven't kind of done everything they would say either. So that's back to moving to Alberta Wild Rose Party. Bah! Hey, Ed, thank you. Talk to you soon, and I hope I see you soon. With all this COVID business, we haven't been together for a long time. So happy day.
Happy day to you, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. And I'd like to say have fun in the gun world, but there's no fun left anymore. But anyway, think about all this process. And remember, you can't vote Liberal, you can't vote NDP. And be vocal, speak, talk to everybody about how crazy this is. When there's an argument in a room and guns, if you got a gun, you're a murderer. Tell them that's not true. Hey, don't let the science and don't let any facts get in your way. Give it to them. Hey, see ya.